Hey guys, Mitch here from the Gibbies, back to you today with another solo review. The festive season is quickly upon us, and with it, a infinite number of movies there are to look forward to, both traditional and both new. And so, in the spirit of the spooky season that is Halloween, I thought I'd dive into a classic, which for me personally has been somewhat synonymous with the spooky season in terms of its blood and gore. Not only as a great supernatural film or a great kung fu film, a great action film, a great superhero film, just in general, a great film. So put your sunglasses on, dust off the old leather trench coat, and let's revisit one of my absolute favourite movies of all time, 1998's Blade. I was 8 years old the first time I saw this movie, and I remember distinctively that I was at my cousin's house, and they suggested to put it on, and they handed me the VHS cover of it, and I didn't know anything about Wesley Snipes at the time. I didn't know much about superhero comics, let alone superhero films. It was all brand new to me. And so I did not know anything about this movie. I didn't know it had anything to do with action or kung fu or a bloody, gory vampire slayer movie. And so my immediate first impression of seeing the front cover was it kind of reminded me of the Terminator. This big menacing guy in black leather with a sword in his hand named Blade. I immediately presumed that he was going to be the villain of the movie. To my gleeful surprise, oh, how wrong I was. From the get-go, the film makes quick work, demonstrating the kind of story you're in for. From its color tone, its visual aesthetic, its violence, its ambient score. It's basically a rating warning before the opening title of the film is dropped, foreboding things to come. Fast forwarding to now, we are treated with what I believe has been agreed upon many fan bases as one of, if not the greatest character introductions of all time, especially superhero character introductions. In my opinion, there are only two kinds of people. There are those that say, without a doubt, this is the greatest character introduction of all time. And then there are those who have not seen the movie Blade. Having been led into a nightclub situated inside a slaughterhouse, a man hoping to get laid has his work cut out for him when he soon discovers, in the most gnarly of fashions, that he just might be in a vampire den. Within 10 minutes of screen time, this film has explained everything it needs to explain without any need of exposition to establish its foundation for the rest of the film to make sense. We learn that this world is full of vampires. We learn that these vampires are safeguarded, that they're hidden from the public eye, that they are savage, that they are merciless, that the humans are afraid of them, they are powerless against them. The vampires are the hunters.
What's wrong, baby?
Then with even greater visual storytelling, the movie flips its duality on us by adding Blade to the equation. With not a single word of dialogue, in one single frame, we learn the relationship the vampires have to this man. They are afraid of him. They are powerless against him. They are, in fact, the hunted. You gotta give props to Wesley Snipes for his martial arts background. It really makes the film what it is. Obviously, if it was any other actor, there would have to be a stunt double, and it would just kill the energy and the vibe of these fight sequences. They are what make the film work, and it works because we know it's Wesley Snipes, and that is really the catalyst for his character. He is purely the visceral visual definition of the word cool. Soon afterward, we are introduced to Dr. Karen Jensen, a hematologist or blood doctor, played by Nabushe Wright. and immediately after she dies. Not really. She gets bitten and is quickly saved by Blade, who has returned to finish off Quinn. Which kind of doesn't make sense because it's made quite clear during the previous engagement that Blade intended to keep Quinn alive. I guess he changed his mind. Like he was halfway back to base and a sudden thought rushed to his head.
Wait. Yes! That's what I should have said!
But before Blade can finish the job, he is interrupted by the greatest hospital security I've ever seen.
Motherfucker, are you out of your damn mind?
Just like in real life. Quinn gets away, but Blade's conscience gets the better of him, and he rescues Karen from danger. Where she will no longer be harmed. Eventually. And this is where we are introduced to the real villains of the story, the United States Congress. I mean, Deacon Frost, played brilliantly by Stephen Dorff. And despite being in a room with no lights and filled with black leather, it's made quickly clear that Frost is seen as the black sheep due to his reckless nature and being the only half vampire, meaning he was once human.
We should be ruling the humans, not running around making back alley treaties with them. These people are our food, not our allies.
You're out of line, Frost.
I think what I love most about this scene is that it shows the vampires are not all completely evil, that even within the vampire nation there is still this class system associated within their hierarchy, where most of the councils seem quite determined on finding some neutral ground with the human race that they coexist with, for lack of a better word. Frost, however, is the exception. He's definitely more fanatical, and he kind of gives off this I just inherited a lot of wealth kind of vibe, as if like he was the son to a council member that died and now he's just taken over the reign. That's not true to the character. It's just the kind of performance that he gave from Stephen Dorff, that he's just recently undertaken a lot of power, a lot of wealth, and he's immediately exploiting it to the point of drawing a lot of attention from the other members of the council for all the wrong reasons.
The world belongs to us, not the humans. You know that.
He wants to blur the lines between what is pure blood and half-blood. He has not only just a vendetta for Blade, but a vendetta for his own particular race. You could even argue to a certain extent that Stephen Dorff plays Frost as someone who I think somewhat hates his own people. He's got a whole entourage of minions that he, puppeteers and gets what to do, because I guess for a lesser extent they love him, they're loyal to him, they admire him. But there's never been a single scene where he comes off as having someone who is an actual friend in this film, which is very cool but also narcissistic, sociopathic kind of characterization for a vampire, and it is something that hasn't really, in terms of a character such as a vampire, it's a direction that has never really been taken before. The next scene, Karen wakes up after having been inoculated with garlic that has managed to prevent her transitioning into a vampire, at least temporarily. And for the rest of the movie, for the most part, we kind of see this world through Karen's eyes, as everything is brand new to her. It's brand new to us. It's an easy gimmick to have exposition allowed without it coming off as, obvious.
Who are you people?
My name's Abraham Whistler. You met Blade.
Considering it hasn't even been 24 hours since Karen has learned that vampires actually exist in this world, whatever exposition is thrown at her, it feels natural and earned.
Remember what we told you. You keep your eyes open. They're everywhere.
But it's daytime!
The fuck did we just tell you, bitch? Before Karen can flee the city, a police officer working for the vampires attempts to kill her. But Blade once again arrives in clutch.
Wait a minute. You use me as bait?
Get over it.
Following the police officer, they arrive at this club that is a front for another vampire house. which segues us to probably the most oddest scene in the whole film, where we are introduced to the character Pearl, the record keeper. Who would have thought Blade could have predicted the future so accurately?
What do you do for a living?
Nothing.
What do you do all day?
A video game.
Fart jokes aside, there was once a much more darker tone and description to this character, involving the eating of children, and more specifically children's hearts. Whatever suggestion there was to remove that, I suppose was for the better. If it's implied, I've missed it every time, and instead what we get is this kind of, I guess, breather moment to allow the audience just to have a smile or a laugh to the absurdity of what they're seeing. That all said, it would have made a lot more sense for Karen to react the way she did. Perhaps to the side of the bed there's like a pile of shoes that were children's size, or something to suggest to this thing, this obese thing, being this real sinister monster, not just a fat pancake. To me, it's a nitpick for me, but it would have made a lot more sense for Karen's sudden jump from being hesitant on how to treat a police officer than to all of a sudden just go full blown, let's torch this motherfucker.
He moved.
I think right now is probably a good time to talk about how different this adaptation movie is from its original source material. Give an example of even a character such as Pearl, who was created for the movie. Everything like from Blade's character, his look, his style, his attitude is completely different. Even the whole preamp of him being half man, half vampire was created for this movie adaptation. And it's a good example of what happens when you sometimes don't follow the beat. When sometimes your own creative input, your own creative genius can have a very successful outcome. Given the story that we've all come to know of, the movie Blade is the reason why Marvel is still here with us today. Blade begins to piece together what Frost's big plan is, a resurrection of this vampire god called La Magra. And so Frost and his entourage set up a coup, and it's probably for me the weakest point in the film is how easily and how missed it was for Dragon Eddie to be captured and killed. I thought they could have at least had a little bit more resistance into managing to capture him and kill him. Like, one simple scene where maybe there was one other council member that betrayed Dragon Eddie and set up a situation that enabled Frost's henchmen to easily capture him. But instead we just get this kind of cutaway to them having already captured him. And for me, it's like, I want to know the how. I want to know the steps involved into managing to get their hands on what I believed was a very powerful person. But nonetheless, they capture him and kill him in probably the most violent means throughout the whole film. And again, one more thing I just want to know the how to is after killing Dragon Eddie, Frost just walks into the council room and takes the head chair. No one challenges him on it, no one coerces him on it. It's just, okay, he's now in charge. It's safe to be implied that the Vampire Council now are being held hostage. Cool, but again, each one of these council members would have had their own muscle. They would have had their own security, their own protection. Where was it throughout this entire film? But for the story to progress, Frost is now taken over as head of this council. Now coming to what is honestly my favorite scene of the film, and you'll probably find that for odd reasons. Even though he doesn't show much expression, we know Blade is shocked to find his arch nemesis Frost standing in broad daylight. I love this scene for multiple reasons. For one, it's the first interaction the hero and the villain have in the entire film. We get a glimpse of them through multimedia and whatnot, but this is their first time where they share the same space. And it was one of the very first films I ever first analytically critiqued and noticed in the use of camera framing. What I love about it is the intensity that it builds by the simple act of the camera push, coming in closer and closer to each of their faces as the dialogue intensifies as the banter becomes trade for insult, and you hear the somber music in the background. It's building to a close. It's a style that's been done hundreds of times before, in putting two characters in a placement where just a simple act of the camera pushing in tighter on their face. So from the start of frame, we have everything in wides, everything's in fair mid-wide shots, and by the end of the scene, it's tied in on their face, where like even like their brow and their chin's cropped, because the focal point is their eyes. It's the intensity building between two characters that not necessarily have to hate each other, but two characters that you know by the end of the outcome there's going to be one standing and one falling, or in this case, one running for their life after trading bullet time. This scene in general, it brought my love and interest and intrigue and passion towards how to frame a scene. The camera is not just there to record what's happening, the camera is placed there for a special significant reason, to achieve a certain emotion, to achieve a certain aesthetic. And yes, Blade did do bullet time before The Matrix, and it is followed up with even another great sequence, but one thing that's always plagued on my mind about the sequence is how exactly Frost got there before Blade did. And not only did he get there before Blade, he got there before Blade with enough time to do what he does, which is kill Whistler. Irregardless, it's a very intense scene, and it shows how both petty and spiteful and hateful Frost really is towards the human race. I remember watching this when I was a kid, and I thought it was one of the most violent things I ever saw, because not only was it a violent act, but the way it was shot, of this man stomping this guy on the ground, it was violence that was, at the time for me, not really seen on the big screen. Like, you had your kung fu violence and your novelty violence, of course, and you shoot 'em up, bad guys, cops and robbers kind of violence. This was a very gritty act to just basically curb stomp an old man. If you did not hate this character Frost before, you hate him even more now. And so Blade does eventually return. Who knows how long the disparity was, but it was enough to find the remains of Whistler. It's a very solemn scene, but I just wish in this sequence Blade showed some more emotion. Even though it's there, we know it's there, we know he cares for Whistler. I just felt like it would have been more earned if he just showed a little bit more emotion in this scene to say farewell to his dad. But alas, it sets the stage for a final showdown between good and evil. Frost having kidnapped Karen and taken her to his secret lair, which is a very fancy hotel in the middle of downtown LA. Blade prepares himself for war and does it in, again, the style that it beat The Matrix to the punch. A lobby shootout with a bunch of security and military forces that a badass with guns, lots of guns, comes rolling in. I think this reveal is quite effective in terms of a surprise twist. Blade's mother is still alive and a vampire, and has been one ever since she gave birth to him. Really, is really a tragic kind of notion. The fact that he's been out there slaying vampires since he was old enough to be able to wield a sword, thinking his mother was dead, only to find out that this entire time she herself has been a vampire. It really comes out of left field. To say the least, I think it works quite well. And was to even add a more bigger surprise onto another big surprise, the person to have had bitten his mother just happens to be Frost. And so Frost gets what he wanted. He's captured Blade, and they begin to drain him of his blood, which is the key to this transition of awakening La Magra. And so now it's finally Karen's turn to save Blade. And she does so in a very tremendous fashion. Left in a pit to have a final conversation with her old boyfriend, and manages to escape with tremendous ease. And she manages to rescue Blade. I think what I love most about the duo in this movie is it would have been very expected and very conventional for the both of them to fall magically in love with each other. It could have been originally written that way, that they do, but this version of it, it's just a very professional kind of relationship. Yes, that was intentional. And so the souls of the Vampire Council begin to leave their host bodies and go into Frost. And with a beautiful transition, he's no longer Frost. He is now La Magra, the Blood God.
Deacon?
At me more.
What? And so Blade is forced to kill what I guess you could call still his mother, but as she said moments ago,
vampires are my people now. I'm one of them.
and now we come to the final confrontation. What is some of the most awesome badassery ever displayed on the big screen is displayed to you now within 20 minutes of remaining screen time. I'd love to see a scene where a henchman just, knows they don't stand a chance. Blade easily defeats Frost, but Blade soon discovers that he's not fighting Frost anymore, he's actually fighting La Magra, the Blood God.
You're too late, Blade.
Now, originally they had an alternative ending for this sequence. Deacon, now as the Blood God, was to transform into this giant tornado of blood. On paper it sounds awesome, but the test footage that they had at the time showcased that CG was just not ready at that point in time. And I think most people that would have seen this test footage would agree. It was not ready. Because what you've done is you've removed the face off the monster. It wouldn't have had the same impact as it does with Blade facing the person responsible for all the turmoil in his life, but also ironically having created him to begin with. And so once again, Karen is in fact the hero of the story. It's her invention of using the EDTA anticoagulant material that is the key to killing the Blood God. It's kind of ironic given Frost was a character of constantly inventing and scientifically progressing, only for him to turn into an ancient creature to be killed by science. It all runs on basically coincidence and luck at this point, but at the same time it fits the beats of the narrative because it's introduced. It's not just some random MacGuffin that is thrown at the last second that saves the day. It is a plot thread and a key point that is established throughout the narrative.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
To this day, I still don't know what Blade was trying to say with that comment, but whatever, it was cool. And so Blade and Karen walk off into a sunrise to see another day, and the film comes into full circle. Now set up in a different hunting ground, in a different environment, in a new world.
Zastane vo vremia. Tovarish.
And that's Blade. And nearly 30 years later, it is still as epic and as badass as it was since the first time I saw it. Not only was it one of the biggest box office successes of 1998, it set the stage for future generations of kung fu, action, sci-fi, and superhero films alike. It's the perfect example of a beautiful blend of style versus cool, mainstream versus aesthetic. It is a popcorn film, it is a Halloween film, it is generally an everyday of the year kind of film, but for me personally it strikes a spark with Halloween. The soundtrack is cool, the tone is cool, the clothing is cool, the weapons are cool, the fighting is cool. It is truly the living embellishment of just the definition of cool. The film in general, Blade, is easily in my top 20, maybe in my top 10 favorite films of all time. So this is me again paying back homage to a film that was a key significance in my childhood. And it's why I will give Blade a 9 out of 10. Thanks so much guys for tuning in and listening. I plan to get this out by Halloween. My deadline is running short, so it might be a few days or whatever. So that all said, I want to say thank you once again for tuning in. If you like this video, please leave a like and a comment. Any other films you recommend me want to review and talk about? Sequel to Blade, perhaps? I enjoyed Blade 2. I do not enjoy Blade 3. But if it's something you want to see more out of me, please leave the comments and I will respond. So again, have a happy Halloween. Enjoy the festive season. And I will see you again on the next video of the Jibbies. Take it easy. This is what happens when you work with unprofessionals. Having said nothing and done nothing, he's... Sit. Sasha, sit. If that is implied for the character... Hey! Sit. Thank you. No. No, Sasha. No. Sit. Can never get any work done.